Brian Grimes, your real estate mentor, back with another action-packed session. Today, we're going to be doing a live Q&A. I'm going to answer a lot of the questions that you guys have been sending me over the last couple of weeks. So I kind of compiled them, and then I'll just answer them in a session like this. If you guys have any other questions, drop them in the chat section, drop them in the comment section as we're flowing. It's free flowing for you guys, so there are no bad real estate questions. You just have to ask them. The theme of today is getting unstuck. A lot of people start off in this game or want to get into this game, but they feel stuck. They're stuck somewhere in the process. They don't know how to get started. You might have cash issues, credit issues. You don't know what the best strategy is. So we're going to talk a lot about some of those questions that people get stuck on. If you're feeling stuck, ask a question. I mean, that's the easiest way to get ahead. A good question can lead to an answer that can get you ahead and get you to the next level. And the goal is, to get a deal, get a cash flowing property. 2024 is that year that you want to accelerate, or you're going to be behind. If you're new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe, follow, leave a comment that says I subscribe. For everybody who leaves that comment, I'm going to send you instant access to one of my free real estate trainings. It'll show you how to acquire properties for pennies on a dollar all across the country. You don't want to miss out on that free offer. So make sure you take advantage of that. If you're interested in any of our programs, we have the Boots on the Ground program, where we build houses for you in the Philadelphia area. So if you want me and my team to find you a deal, it could be like a rental property, a flip deal, I'll build it for you, tenant it for you, property manage it for you, like really turnkey. Reach out. We don't have much capacity. I think we only have one spot because we had a bunch of people join that recently. But reach out about that. We have the one-on-one mentorship program. If you want me to hold your hand through your first deal, just reach out, DM me, email me, text me. You can get a hold of me. But we have some limited capacity for that program as well. And then we have the real estate ride along. If you scroll through my Instagram, the YouTube, you'll see a lot of the videos of us doing like the on-site trainings. We're doing the next one, March 23rd, which is a Saturday. I think we had like 3 tickets left. 2 more filled up today, or they're supposed to. I think that guy's going to sign up tomorrow for him and his partner, a New Yorker. So the ride along is just filling up very quickly. So if you guys want to tap into that ride along, reach out. You'll spend a day with me, boots on the ground in Philly, touring properties, understanding how to put houses together for a living, talking about lending, how to get in the game, where to invest, why to invest, all of that fun stuff. So it will definitely give you like a decade's worth of game in a day. So I recommend that for people who are interested in getting started. And this is only for action takers. Like, I really, at this point, I only have time to work with the people who are ready to take action. If you're not ready to take action and you want to just sit on the sidelines and watch people win all 2024, do it. But for those who want to get unstuck and who want to accelerate and who are ready to take action, who are tired of kind of sitting back and having another year go by, you don't have any properties. If that's you, like, tap in, reach out. We're here for the action takers. We're here to get results. This is a results-driven process. Somebody asked, will this be recorded? It's definitely recorded. You can tap in later if you want to. I'll keep this up on all channels, the YouTube, the Instagram, all that stuff. So let's get into the mindset, and then we'll tap into some of the questions. Once again, guys, if you have questions, anything about real estate, just drop it in the chat section, drop it in the comment section. I'm answering all your questions live. And we're going to start with the questions you guys have been texting me, some of the VIP mentees over the course of the last couple of weeks. The mindset is just to remove all obstacles. You get unstuck by working around whatever's holding you back. All of us have issues. This is the God's honest truth. All of us have issues when we're getting started in real estate. When I got started, I was making $30K a year or less when I got started and bought my first house. I had saved for 2 years, studied for 2 years. I still knew less than 1% of what I know today. So I was able to get started just by like staying focused, staying obsessed with this game and staying locked in. I wanted to do a deal years before I ever did a deal, but I didn't have access to the mentorship and some of the resources that I give you guys. Like, I was just talking to a guy from New York, and he's like, Brian, can you help me out with everything in Philly? Like contractors, architects, engineers, permit expediters, lenders, all. And I'm like, yeah, all of that. I didn't have that, but that's why I created my platform so that I could be a resource for a lot of people and just kind of reach back out and stay in that abundance mindset. So whatever's holding you back, no matter who you are, a lot of the issues you guys are facing are the same issues that I was facing when I was getting started. So I know where you're at. I know what it's like to start flat broke. I mean, I was working 100% commission, when I got started. So I didn't even have a salary to depend on. So when I went all in on real estate, it was all in. Like if it flopped, I was done. Like I was cooked. I was just gonna be living at home, in the bedroom that I grew up in. So it was something that was really serious. It definitely gives you heart palpitations, but don't don't stay stuck because you don't feel confident or you don't feel ready. Now that we're kind of on that kind of angle, you're never going to feel confident enough to do your first deal. You're never going to wake up and just be like, I'm feeling it, I'm ready. And even if you are that day, you're going to go to sleep, wake up the next day and be like, what am I doing? I think I'm crazy here. Like, should I really go do this deal? Is this the right thing to do? You're always going to second guess that decision because you're expanding your comfort zone. So a lot of people will wait until they feel ready. I'll hear that a lot. I don't know. I'm still nervous. I'm doing more research. I'm waiting for the right opportunity. I'm waiting for the right person to come along. It's never going to happen. Even if it happens temporarily, you're not going to feel that way just for the end of time. It doesn't work like that. Even if you get confident enough to take the action steps and do your deal, as you're going through your first deal, you're going to be on that emotional roller coaster. Even a lot of our mentees are still on it. Even though I talk about it, it's very easy to get on that emotional roller coaster where you're at a high, you get a deal, you put out an offer, they say they're going to take the offer. You're like, yes, this is happening. Then the deal falls through and you're like, oh, this is never going to work for me. Now you're down. You have to just stay even killed. But the only way to get there is to start taking action now, get experience, start to answer more of your questions, which is why we're here today, to answer a lot of the questions that are holding you guys back. But and getting more answers, getting rid of all these questions is going to build a lot of confidence because you'll have less what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? You'll just have knowledge on what will happen, what the probability is, and then you'll take action. And the last thing I'll say about mindset is you're going to become a version of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And today, that's kind of a blessing. I would say 20 years ago, maybe not so great, because if you grow up as like a local yokel, you never go anywhere or travel anywhere or spend time in different groups or get the right mentors. You just never get exposure. But today, you can tap in through social media and spend time with the right people. So you choose who you spend your time with. If you want to spend more time with me, tap into the YouTube, tap into the Instagram, tap into the mentorship, and you won't become me, you'll become a version of yourself that is along this spectrum, which is going to be a version of you that has more real estate, more financial freedom, who's unplugged from the 9 to 5. I haven't been in the 9 to 5 since 2017. So it's starting to rack up years, almost a decade out. And having that freedom is everything. It's more important than cash flow, even though this is the 24/7 cash flow university. You want to build cash flow for you and your family, but it's truly the freedom to wake up and spend time with your family, work out, eat right, meditate, do all of those things to take care of yourself that are important and part of the journey that's going to keep you going. But choose who you're spending time with. Spend more time. If you want to get deals done, spend more time with people who are doing deals. That could be mentorship, that could be the YouTube channel, that could be a lot of different avenues, but spend your time there and you'll get the result. You keep spending your time watching trash TV, gossip channels, then you're going to get more gossip. Like you're just going to be that version of yourself. So choose who you want to be. But once you choose that, start taking action. Don't wait to feel good about it. Just take action and you'll feel good about the result that you get at the end. Guys, if you're getting value, like, comment, subscribe, follow on the Instagram if you're on the Insta Live. Share the content with somebody else you want to get value. And let's flow into these questions. Drop your questions in the chat and comment section. The first question that I get a lot of is, what state should I open my LLC in and why? So we get a lot of these LLC questions. This holds back a lot of people from getting into the game. They don't know how to structure themselves and they want to make sure that they're doing it the right way. So they stay stuck in that paralysis through analysis. So what state should you open your LLC in and why? You should open your LLC typically in one of these 2 states, Delaware or Wyoming. Delaware or Wyoming. Delaware, you would open your LLC there if you're planning on raising money for your real estate entity. So if your goal is I'm going to form this syndication, I'm going to start this development company and we're going to raise money, then you want to do it in Delaware, because Delaware has the Delaware Court of Chancery, and they are very well versed in business litigation. That's very important when you go to raise money from the people who have capital. They're interested, and their attorneys are interested in, well, what happens if something goes wrong? If something goes wrong, how do we navigate the situation? You're going to end up in court. So then they want to know what court and how does this court handle itself? Well, Delaware has a ton of case law, complex business litigation. So it's easier to raise money from a Delaware entity because the people who are giving you the money are very comfortable with the court system there. It's also cheap. There are also benefits. There are also benefits on lawsuit protection. So let's say you got sued. Let's say you were driving your car and you get in a car wreck and you're at fault. So you get sued personally. It exceeds the amount of your insurance carrier. And because you got sued personally, now creditors coming after you and they want to know what other assets you hold. So you also own this LLC that owns real estate. In Delaware, there are charging order protections, which are enhanced protections that prevent a creditor from coming in and trying to take over your LLC, control your properties, or make you sell your properties to pay off a personal debt. So there's a lot of protection that exists in Delaware. This also exists in Wyoming that don't exist in other states. So where you open your LLC is extremely important. If you open your LLC in the wrong state and then you get into a jam, it could cost you everything. So you have to be aware of where you're opening your LLC and why. It is extremely important, but it is no more complex than what I just told you. Delaware or Wyoming. If you're not looking to raise a ton of money and form syndications and all these things, then do it in Wyoming because it's cheaper and arguably has even more protections than Delaware. So that will answer that question. I just got a question through the YouTube chat. Guys, if you have more questions, just drop them in the channel and we'll keep flowing through them. What's your thoughts on shared room housing, both for sober living and non? That's a good question. Shared housing can be extremely profitable, especially in some of these niches like sober living. It can be very profitable. You start getting paid $200, $300 a day per bed. But you have to, when you're getting those properties, you're going to have to go through the variance process. You're going to have to buy a big single family property, typically get it converted into a group home, which is going to require a variance. You're probably going to have to add a sprinkler system to the building. That's going to cost $30,000, $40,000 to get that sprinkler system at that grade level. In your typical single family property that was converted to one of these group homes that can house enough people for it to make sense. Some of these strategies require specialized staff, nurses on staff, different people on staff. You might be dealing with a certain type of resident that you may or may not be comfortable with. You always want to rent to people that you kind of know to a degree. So if you're kind of used to that crowd, like the sober living crowd, that might be a good strategy for you. If not, it might not be, because you may not resonate with the clientele. So you always want to lead with clientele first. I want to rent to people who I've at least walked that path of life at some point in time, because now you can identify with them. You can build relationships better. You can manage issues better. So there's, sober living, there's senior housing, there's just straight co-living. There's a lot of different strategies along that wrinkle. I talk about it in our free training. If anybody wants it, I'll send it out. Just reach out to me, text me, DM me, whatever. I'll send you the free training where we cover the three high cash flow strategies. One is kind of co-living, which is that'll get you to like $1,000 a month per deal. Then there's the shared rooming houses. So the group homes that can get you to like $3,000 to $5,000 a month in cash flow from one deal. And then you will have the senior housing, which can go up to like $15,000 to $20,000 off of one property of cash flow per month. So off of one property that you set up correctly, you can do about $15,000 to $20,000. But it's heavy on management, so it really is something that you have to be into. You have to learn how to manage and stay locked into. But that's a good question. Guys, any more questions, keep dropping them. We got a lot of questions to flow through. So even if you guys don't have a ton, I'll keep flowing for a while. But definitely you guys are here to get your questions answered. I want you guys getting unstuck. So if something's bothering you, holding you back, make sure you ask it. Make sure you get that question answered so you can accelerate. You don't want to sit and wait because you have some question or something, mentally blocking you. Question, should I cancel my LLC in New Jersey before I use it? Not necessarily. It's not like every LLC is bad, because you might have a short-term LLC. So let's say you have your New Jersey LLC and you're like, well, it doesn't have the protections that you're saying Wyoming and Delaware have. Well, Wyoming and Delaware have those protections for single member entities. So if you don't have any partners, if you had a multi-member entity, you could now get those same protections that you can get as a single member entity in Delaware or Wyoming. Wrinkles, levels kind of to the knowledge. So if you still want to use that New Jersey LLC, you may just want to add a member to the LLC. You might add somebody at 1% that has, no authority. They're not going to outvote you, right? If you're running around with 99% and they have 1. So you add them in, but now you have multi-member protections on your LLC. So what that does is, let's say I get sued and I'm 99% owner, you're 1%. I get sued personally. And we have an operating agreement that says company money can't be used to pay personal debts without approval, unanimous approval. So all members. So we have this ironclad operating agreement that says I need approval from my partner. So I get sued personally. Creditor comes at me and they're like, well, you should just sell off assets. And I'm like, nope, this is a multi-member LLC. So-and-so owns 1% and they're not approving anything. So sorry, you're out of luck. And that's just how it goes. So I would consider reformatting it and or just using it for a different purpose. Like, let's say you're a wholesaler or you're just going and doing short-term deals. I'm going to buy and flip. I'm going to wholesale. Use the LLC for that, or use the LLC for another purpose. When you really get deep into this game, you're going to have a lot of LLCs. Like, you'll have an LLC as you build up your properties. You're going to start doing your own property management. So you'll have an LLC for the property management. Then you'll do your own development. You have an LLC for the development company. Then you might have the holding company in Wyoming. The holding company owns some of the state companies, the New Jersey state, the Pennsylvania state. Those New Jersey and Pennsylvania states, LLCs are buying the properties in Jersey and PA and Philly and Camden County. So your structuring will naturally flow out into multiple LLCs across different state lines. But I think the most important LLC is your master holding LLC, the LLC that owns the other LLCs. That one needs to be, especially if it's a solo LLC and you're the sole member, that one needs to be in the right area. So that's a good question. Let's keep flowing, guys. If you're getting value, like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment that says I subscribed and share the content with somebody else who you want to get value. Here's another question. Do I need, and then we'll get off the LLCs. Do I need an LLC to invest in real estate? The answer is yes and no. It depends on what strategy you're going with. So if you are going out and doing a construction loan, if you're trying to do the BRRRR strategy and you want to buy a property, renovate it, refinance out of it, repeat that process and put a tenant in, at some point in that process, you typically have to go through an LLC. Most lenders do not want to give construction loans to individuals because when things go wrong, there are different levels of protection. This is kind of behind the veil information, but there's consumer protection laws that exist if somebody lends you money personally that don't exist if they lend you money to a LLC. Because once they lend to the LLC, it's now a commercial loan and it loses all the consumer protections, which are protections like serving notice of non-payment, how they can foreclose, kind of all of these different things. So most of the time when you're getting a construction loan, a hard money loan, something like that, you have to do it through an LLC. Now, if you're just getting started and you're trying to house hack and you're like, hey, I'm going to go out and get the biggest multifamily I can. I'm doing an FHA loan. I'm going to put down 3.5%. That's a whole different ballgame. You can't do that in the LLC. You have to do that in your personal name. So I've seen people go and get the LLC polished up and then they're trying to do an FHA house hack and they're like, Brian, so I got my LLC ready. I'm like, dude, you don't need it. They're not going to fund it through an LLC. It's going to go in your personal name. And then you'll get a beefed up insurance policy to cover yourself if something happens. So it always depends on what type of deal you're doing. Long term, you're not going to be able to do multiple deals in your personal name. Usually the banks will cut you off from a debt to income ratio standpoint at like 4 or 5 deals. And now you're dealing with the commercial players who all they want is LLCs. So you will encounter the LLC, but if you're starting off just house hacking, doing an FHA loan or something on your first deal, don't run out and get the LLC just yet. That might be a waste of $500. That's going to be a waste of money that you could have kept as, capital reserves in case something went wrong. Let's keep flowing here. My client is preparing to sell a home. What questions should I prepare? Maybe re-ask that. I mean, it depends. It depends on your involvement with the client. Like, I know you build houses, so I'm assuming you built this house for them. They're looking to prepare to sell. They're probably going to have to do at least a seller's disclosure. There's going to be a lot of questions that they have for you there in terms of what happened, because typically when you're building a property for someone, they don't know all the answers to how new is the roof, what type of roof is it, what type of plumbing system do we have? Do we have cast iron? Do we have this or that? So you're going to have to answer a lot of those questions for your client as they're going to sell, because they're going to have to fill out that seller's disclosure. And it has to be accurate. Sometimes people will come back and try to sue over those things. I don't think that that's an effective use of anybody's time, but I've seen people try to do it. More questions. What's the most effective way to find housing programs to help you get full occupancy faster? I would say don't necessarily look for housing programs to help you to fill faster. I mean, you can build relationships at these housing agencies. So if it's Section 8, go down to the Section 8 office, meet the people that work there, find out who's kind of like the supervisor, who's ahead of everybody else or in charge of everybody else. Build that relationship out. That can be important. If you go down to the veterans office, which every city kind of has them, every big city, go down to the VA office, take some donuts there, a box of donuts, go talk to the receptionist. They're going to tell you everything. They're going to say, hey, there's a little, bulletin board over here. Get your card, go post it over there. We're going to send information here. We'll get you on the mailer that goes out. You can start to network your way in. Outside of that, just make sure you're syndicated everywhere. So there are websites like the one I use, Turbo Tenant. They should actually give me like a free, they should pay me to promote them realistically. But Turbo Tenant is great. They're fantastic. And with the click of a button, you can upload something to Turbo Tenant, like a listing, push one button, it syndicates to over 29 websites. So that is the most important thing you can do, is get out there. Get your property out there. So many people kind of get stuck at that point, which is why it's a great question. You can get stuck there and you're like, hey, what do I do at this point in time? How do I get this property tenanted? People run the, Craigslist. They just put it on Craigslist, or they'll just put it on section8.com or affordablehousing.com. Get it everywhere. Get it on Facebook Marketplace even. You want as many eyeballs as possible. And you can do it yourself typically if you're available to show the property. If you're not and you don't have anybody to show it, get a tenant placement agent. The last thing I'll say with your listings and how to tenant faster is control your listings. Make sure your pictures are right. The pictures are everything when it comes to tenanting your property faster. I recommend paying the extra $150 to get professional pictures taken. Get professional pictures of your property taken. It's super important. It's crucial for your success. And make sure you screen the photos, because even if you get professional pictures taken, you might look at the photos and you're like, that backyard pic looks a little rough. If you're thinking it, everybody else is thinking it. Take the picture out. I'd rather have less pictures that all look great than have a bunch of pictures and some of them are iffy. If the basement is in rough shape, take the basement pic out. Take any pic. If it doesn't add, it subtracts. So take all the bad pictures out. Let people have a chance to come to the property and judge the property for themselves with fresh eyes. So I just try to give the property a chance. You want to build, quality and put a nice product out there and put nice quality products in your property. But then once you get that done, it's really about syndicating, broadcasting this thing to as many people as possible. The more eyeballs, the more people are going to come up to the property, the more people that come to the property, the faster it's going to tenant. It's just a numbers game, and you don't need to make it any more complex. So that's what I would do. If you're going to go to the agencies, go to them. But even if you don't, make sure you're syndicating. Do all of the above. Do all of it kind of all at once, and you'll have more success. Guys, the YouTube is bumping. The Instagram's quiet. You guys got to ask more questions on Insta. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. Leave a comment that says I subscribe, and share the content with somebody else you want to get value, who you think might have a real estate question while we're flowing. How do you think the election will affect the housing market, i.e. mortgage interest rate, inventory, etc.? It depends on who wins. If Trump wins, I think the real estate market is going to get a positive boost in several big ways. One way is going to be, I think that bonus depreciation is going to get extended. So that's going to allow a lot of people to come into the game, buy a property close to year end, and then bonus depreciate. Take $100,000 tax loss or more on that property, offset their earned income. So I think if Trump wins, it's going to be really positive. If not, it'll probably just be more or less the same. Rates are going to go down, but there's going to be, I think, less upside in terms of some of these bonuses, bonus appreciation, some of these other benefits getting renewed. But I would say it's going to be positive leading up to the election. Rates will continue to fall. There's going to be a lot of opportunities, and just focus on the high cash flow cities. If you're in this for cash flow, come to the high cash flow cities. Most of them are in the Northeast. If you're in it to flip, you can flip in a lot of places. But for cash flow, you look in the Northeast. Top 10 cities: Philly, Cleveland, Baltimore, South Jersey's got good cash flow. Delaware's got good cash flow. I'm actually looking at a portfolio in Wilmington, Delaware right now that's got it's a 40 property portfolio, 46 units, because some of them are multis. There's cash flow, in the Northeast. Upstate New York has got some good cash flow as well. So definitely stay tapped into the election, but either way, get yourself in the game, get a deal, because when the election comes and goes and real estate is looking good, you want to have your relationships. The next thing that's going to hurt you is if you've been sitting on the sideline and now the lenders don't trust you because they've never done a deal with you. So they're like, okay, great, you're a new guy. Who are you? Have you done a deal before? When's the last time you did a deal? And they're asking you all these questions, and then the market's hot. Every week, rates are dropping. Every month, rates are falling. And you're like, I'm trying to get in the game, I'm trying to get in the mix. But the lenders are going to be busy because they're going to be busy dealing with the people that they've already built the relationships with, which is why this is such a pivotal year to continue to build your relationships out. More questions. If I buy land 1 to 5 acres, can I build my family home and a few rentals on my property? Depends on where it's at. But there are a lot of rules that will allow you to build accessory dwelling units, ADUs, or granny flats. There's all these different names for them. Some places you can build multiple ADUs on your land. So as long as you have a lot size, which it sounds like you will at 1 to 5 acres, you could probably build multiple ADUs on your land and rent them all out and make a killing. And typically you could get better financing because it's not owner occupied when you build the ADU, but because it's on your land, it's going to have the same feel as like an owner occupied property that you're just renting out, almost like an extension of your home. So I would bet that you can qualify for better financing and deal with lenders at a higher level. So if you buy your own land, or if you own your own property, or your strategy is to, hey, I just want to do a FHA and I just want to become a homeowner, buy a property with some land attached to it. Get a crib with some land, because that land, with where real estate is headed nationally, there is a push to allow people to do more with their land, to build more housing. It's one of the cures to the affordable housing crisis. It's one of the solutions. Is allow the people to densify, is what I call it. Add density to the neighborhoods, build more properties, even in the backyard, even on their land, on the side lot. So buy property with land, because as we continue to accelerate into the future, that land is going to have extreme value, especially with the new ways to build that are kind of going to be invented in the future. I mean, AI is going to revolutionize construction. There are going to be robots building houses. I wouldn't say that's going to happen in the next 10 years, but I will guarantee you, I mean, it's already happening, by the way. So I'm just thinking like for the average bear to be able to get into it. Somebody like me would probably be doing that, probably be managing a team of robots that are building houses, 3D printing houses. But I think this technology is going to get so good within 20 years that it's going to completely revolutionize the industry. And the people who are kind of tapped in at the level that I'm thinking, or the people that are, in the VIP mentorship program and are staying tuned into this stuff, I think they're going to be the people that are on that wave. And I mean, with the right mechanics, I mean, you could print 100 houses in a year for dirt cheap. It's only going to take 1 year to make 20 million printing houses, like crazy. But that's where the technology is going to go. It's going to open up a window. Some people will get in, some people won't, and that'll be kind of that. Scorpion said, "You must be in Philly. What were those sinking areas in Philly that you had mentioned a while back, and how to avoid those streets or areas?" You just kind of have to know where they're at. So I'm assuming you're in Philly, but there are old parts of Philly that were built on like creeks, essentially old Indian Reserve creeks, and those houses will sink. So what'll happen is there'll be like water channels running 50, 100 feet under the property, and it starts washing away the soil underneath the property. If you've ever been in a house and you're like walking and the floor just kind of goes up and then goes back down, or there's some type of settlement, that settlement happens because the soil beneath the property is washing away. And as it washes away, the foundation starts to sink and the property starts to readjust and shift around the sinking. So there will be certain sections of any city you go to where you'll notice all of the properties here, they start shifting and they sink, and that's because there's something going on underground. And it can be there are going to be areas in different pockets that are experiencing it more than others. So once you start to learn those areas, you'll start looking out for those issues. It's not going to affect every property, and it's not going to be on every block, but when it's there, you want to avoid it. And how you'll know it's there is walking that property and feeling it out. There's what you see and then what you feel in these properties. What you feel can be more important than what you see sometimes. You feel the structural issue. Sometimes you can see it, but a lot of the time, even if you can't see it, you can feel it, and you know it's a problem. Sergeant King said, "I'm late." Guys, if you're new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe. Keep dropping your questions. We'll kind of keep flowing until we run out of questions, but we got a ton of them. Let's just keep going here. Any thoughts on acquiring properties by going after expired listings or land bank owned properties? I would go after expired listings over land bank. The land banks can be extremely slow. Depends on where you're at. I'm sure there are some cities with great land banks. I haven't seen any of them. Like, I haven't. Every land bank I've seen is run by, not to knock the land, some land bank person is going to probably watch this and be like, "I ain't selling Brian any properties out of this thing." I've seen land banks move very slow. They are typically run by smaller groups that aren't necessarily developers. Like, these aren't people that really built houses. So they like to move at their pace. There's a ton of paperwork to do. There's open bidding process. There's just a lot going on. And to me, it can be a strategy, but it's not a scalable strategy. Because if I have to go to the land bank and go through this slow process to get a deal, I can't keep my contractors busy, which means I can't scale, because now they're always running off to some other job instead of staying kind of with me in the program. So I don't like it as a way to scale. It is a way to get some deals, but they're going to move at their own pace. You're going to have to really get acclimated with that process. And to me, there are easier ways to get into the game. That's not a starting point for me. The land bank, going and buying properties from the land bank, they might put restrictions on what you can do with that property. So what you can build, who you can rent to, who you can sell to, they're going to come with restrictions. They're not always just giving you cheap land and saying, "Hey, go have at it." They're going to give you that cheap land and say, "Well, now you have to go build affordable housing. You can't sell to anybody who makes more than 50% of the adjusted median income for the area." And they're going to track how long it takes you to build. You have to build this within 12 months or less, or we'll take it back, or there will be penalties. There's going to be all of this stuff. That's not an environment for a new investor. That's an environment for a sophisticated investor who's done multiple deals, has crews, has everything ready, knows the ropes, has rounded the bases multiple times. But even as a sophisticated investor, you might not want to deal with all that. If you can just go to a wholesaler and get a deal, or go to the auction and just put down your cash, give me the property, get out of my way. So it just depends on what you want to do, how fast you want to move. Expired listings are good. Off-market deals are good. Doing things like direct mail, driving for dollars, bandit signs, doing all of these different things can get you a deal faster and cheaper, arguably. How do you feel about tiny houses in terms of homelessness prevention paid for via vouchers? See, Brian, I make a great partner. We should talk. Definitely reach out. I mean, if you want to talk, reach out. Click the links in the description. They're all below. So you guys can tap in. If you're on Instagram, you probably have to DM me or click one of the links and you can tap in. But definitely reach out. We can talk. I mean, tiny houses, they have to get approved by the municipalities first. So whenever you bring something like that, here's your number one problem with a tiny house. It's non-conforming. So when you're dealing with the zoning code of some of these areas, everything has to be conforming. Conforming means if I go, I mean, think about somewhere like Philadelphia, it's a row home city. So if I go to one house and it's 5 feet off of the sidewalk, and that's where the front facade starts, every house on the block should start there, typically, or thereabout. There's different regulations. If it starts further back, there might be different requirements on what has to happen there. If you build up a level, so if every house on this block is 2 stories and I want to build a 3-story house, I might have a setback requirement. Well, because it's a 3rd story, it would be non-conforming. So you can't build at the front facade. You have to be 8 feet off of the front facade. That's when you'll see those houses where they're 2 stories and then there's a setback and then a 3rd story and then a rooftop deck. So with a tiny house, they're typically 1 story. You're now dealing with something that's non-conforming to the neighborhood in a lot of neighborhoods. So you'll get a lot of pushback from the municipality on being able to build that. Not that it wouldn't be a solution, not that there aren't going to be vouchers and all these things, but you're going to get pushback from zoning. L&I doesn't want to deal with it. They're slow to make adjustments. You're going to run into some red tape. And you have to know how to navigate that red tape. You have to already have the relationships with the architects. You have to know what can be built. You have to know the zoning code. There's so much knowledge that you need to be able to navigate some of these strategies. And that is the value of mentorship. Like I've built over 300 houses. So I've navigated a lot of nonsense. I'm working with one mentee right now where we're taking this deal. I didn't even tell him, if you're watching this, we got your make safe permit submitted. But we're navigating a deal, kind of unraveling a deal that he's been in for a couple of years that he hasn't been able to navigate because nobody would work with him one-on-one. Just because of that, he got enough knowledge from a group course to accelerate, to take action. But even within that action taking, because nobody was working with him one-on-one, as he ran into the pitfalls, he couldn't get his questions answered fast enough. So he just got stuck in the middle of the deal. Now, when we unravel this deal, this is the crazy part. This deal could cash flow $500-$600 a month as we unravel it. And it's not going to take me that long to unravel it. So we're coming in with all the resources. Boom. We're going to, untie this knot, get you cash flow on this deal. Now you can go get another and another and turn this potential loss into a success. And you can only get that level of a handhold through one-on-one mentorship, which is why I focus on one-on-one mentorship over just having the world's biggest group course, like most people do. One-on-one mentorship is harder to provide to people, but it's more valuable. What is your tax guy? I have an LLC, no employees, real estate. Oh, who is your tax guy? Just DM me, text me if you need a referral to like an accountant or anything like that, and I'll send it out. Guys, if you get value, like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment that says I subscribe. Share the content with somebody else who you want to get value, and drop your questions in. Don't be a fly on the wall. My client has not spoken to any realtors yet, and she says she'll share the offer with me soon. So if it sounds like you might be interested in this deal, I would just ask her what she's looking for, and if she's considered seller financing, solutions. That's enough to open up the question. Open up the conversation. So you just say, look, have you considered seller financing? If I could get you the price you're looking for, would you give me the terms? That's a great question. If I could get you the price that you're looking for, would you give me the terms? What are the terms? Let's talk about it. That opens up the conversation to start to pitch creative financing, lease purchase options, subject to sandwich lease options, wraparound mortgages. You might be able to take this property off our hands, reposition it, and get cash flow off of the deal without ever taking on any debt or dealing with anything like that. So we'll talk about it. We're gonna sync up tomorrow for a one-on-one Zoom call. We'll talk about it tomorrow and get you prepped up. I'm working with one of our mentees right now in Chicago, and he's working on that. He's been living in this property for a while, renting it, and he's at a stage where he's like, yo, I've been paying so much in rent. I'm talking to the owners. They're willing to sell or finance it to me. How should I present, a proposal to them? So we're putting together a proposal and pitching them. And I've done this before, by the way. I've helped people to do this before. So now the house that he's renting, he's actually going to be able to build equity in and take over. And without taking on a ton of debt or anything, just start controlling that property, kind of rent to own situation, but self-structured, which is very favorable. It's like a 0% interest self-structuring, which is really nice. And then continue, once we get that deal done, to focus on building more cash flow through rental properties, birth strategy deals. There's a lot to this game. The more you learn, the more you can do. So you don't need tons of cash, perfect credit, or any of that to get started. You do need some capital. I mean, you don't want to go in as a real estate investor, have no capital. At least have a couple grand. At least have, somewhere between 2 to 5,000. If you don't have 2 to 5,000 yet, just keep stacking. Focus on learning how to stack up 2 to 5,000. Then come back into the game and learn how to make that work for you. So you don't want to start off from zero, but you don't need tons of cash or perfect credit to start investing in real estate. You can definitely get into this game with, what I would call peanuts. And like I said, if you can't stack up a couple grand, you have a different issue. You need to learn how to stack up a couple grand, because you don't want to get into real estate and have your back against the wall. This is not that type of game. It's not, it's an unforgiving game. I mean, you could get burned by a contractor for $10,000 so fast your head will spin. Like in a nanosecond, you could lose 10 grand. So you need to have different skill sets, and you need to get educated and knowledgeable so that you don't get burned. ADU definition, accessory dwelling unit, is essentially building a accessory unit, almost like an in-law suite, but a separate property on your own land. Now, in some municipalities, when you build that ADU, you can create a separate tax code for that ADU. So it becomes truly a separate tax parcel, and then you can sell it. And you can usually build these ADUs, because they're smaller, for like 50 cents on the dollar. The land is free, hypothetically, because it's your land. So if you build that property for 50 cents on a dollar, you could build it for $250, sell it for, $450, $500. So you can make a lot of money just doing that and managing a project. Somebody said Roosevelt Boulevard sank. Yeah, the bully definitely will sink. And because some of that gets into the Roosevelt Boulevard, runs through everything. Some of that runs through Hunting Park, and Hunting Park has a lot of issues. So yeah, that boulevard, those properties definitely will sink. I'm seeing a lot of full gut opportunities in my market. What things should I look out for and avoid when looking at these properties? Avoid the properties that you think are cosmetic. It takes a long time. If you watch HGTV, Property Brothers and that stuff, you'll see a lot of guys running in. They're blowing up houses and doing these cosmetic type of renovations. So they're running in. Let's blow this thing up. We're gonna build this thing out. Oh, we'll save this trim. Oh, this looks good. We're gonna remodel this, refabricate this, send this to this guy. That takes such a specialized knowledge, and that's the thing they're not telling you. The full gut is easy. Go in and find a house that's, when I say burnout, I mean like there's a fire in the kitchen, not they just let the house burn to hell. Like that, there's levels to it, right? But if you go into that house and you're like, this house is old, it all kind of has to go. Well, that's easy to bid out, because it's all got to go. And it's easier for the builders to build because it's all new. And builders know how to build new typically. It's really those decisions on what to keep and get rid of where you have to think through it. And if you hire guys who aren't used to thinking and put them in a position where they have to think. They're going to move slow. They're going to make mistakes. It's not going to work out well. And when you're just getting started and you're newer, you don't know what to keep or save because you haven't done it enough. You almost need to build like 50 to 100 properties to really develop that skill set and say, okay, I know what to keep or save. Or you need to work with somebody who's done that, who can look and say, don't save that kitchen. That trim's got to go. Those doors are dead. Those windows aren't going to last. Change out the HVAC system now. You need somebody that can help you to think through it. So the biggest mistake you can make is not necessarily full gutting properties. It's finding the properties you think are cosmetic, and then walls start getting pulled back. And then they're like, no, this is a full cut. Your price goes up. Your cost goes way up. And now you blew your budget. That's where most people fail. Most people do not fail going in with a $150,000 full gut renovation budget. It's not that easy to fail with that. If you get that approved by the lender and that fits within like 65% of the after repair value, it's very easy to win like that because you have enough money to solve problems. You could shift around. All right, don't put in the backyard fence because we ran into this issue on the masonry. Just dump that money into the masonry and we're just going to get straight through this deal, no problem. Versus going in with a very tight budget on a deal you thought was going to be cosmetic and now it's not. That's where you get burned. So I would look for more full gut, stay away from the cosmetic things that you think you're going to be able to work around because it's hard to have that level of experience early on. And you're going to fail. I mean, you're going to burn through 50 to 100,000 trying to figure that game out. Once you figure it out, it's a good game. If they're settling, there will be signs in the house or building, cracks around the door frames and in the corners are a sign that the foundation is breaking and not level. Absolutely. Your house could be leaning to the left or right. There's going to be different signs of settlement. Now, not every settlement is bad. Some of these properties were built 100 years ago in terms of the foundation, or 70, 80 years ago. There's going to be natural settlement in an 80-year-old property. I mean, look at your grandma. Look at your grandpa. Like, they're not moving like they used to, right? There's going to be some natural stuff. But every property that has settlement issues, they're not disastrous. Some are just like, it's a natural settling of the property. Some are, this thing's leaning a little too hard. This wall is bowing out. And if not corrected, this wall is going to collapse. And there's a difference. You have to start to learn the difference between the two. Or if there's a structural issue at the top of the property, I dropped an Instagram video on this. You guys saw me teaching our people at the ride along this lesson, issues at the top of the property because there's not as much weight. You can go in, remove brick walls and do things at the top of the property that you could not do as easily at the bottom. In order to solve the issues at the bottom, because all the weight is kind of falling onto that structure, you'd have to now do heavier work, and it can set you back even more. So there's levels to it. But in general, if you walk in a property and it's leaning, it's an indicator that you need to do more research. You need to ask your contractor questions about how severe this is. Is this normal? Are you concerned? And most issues are not that big of a deal. It could be a joist just cracked and needs to be sistered or replaced. Most of these issues are very solvable, but there are some unsolvable issues, like these sinking properties. These can be unsolvable because you can't get down into the freaking water channel and do anything. That's just nature. More questions, guys. Keep the questions flowing. We'll keep flowing. We got a couple more questions. I got a ton more questions in the arsenal if we get to them. Scorpion, how would I avoid those sinking reservation areas? I guess it takes knowing, because I don't have your experience. I would hate to buy my first property. Just ask me. I mean, if you're going to do it in Philly, just ask me. Don't run in and get beat over the head. Just ask me. If you're buying that property, if you're walking it and it's safe and you don't feel those structural issues, it's probably fine. But where you'll see it a lot is, you ever see those properties where they're like freestanding and the house to the left and the right of it fell over? That's a sign that there's something going on at the foundation level. And if you don't protect your property and put in French drains and different things to run the water away from it, your property is going to wash out as well. So you always look for that. Are properties falling down on the block? Why are they falling down? What's going on? Well, it's the foundational shifts, the structural issues. It could be drainage issues. You'll see a lot of different things, but definitely ask before you purchase, do your research before you buy. The money is typically made in real estate before you buy. If you have 7,500 to 15,000, what would be some of your best investment strategies? 7,500 to 15K. If I haven't house hacked yet, I'm probably going to house hack first. My first deal, I have the closing papers. Maybe I'll do like a live session where we go through my first deal and kind of everything that ran through my head and all the closing costs. I still have the settlement um, paper, so we can actually look at it. But I got my first deal done for less than 7,000. I think it was 7,200 that I came out of pocket for this deal because I did some advanced deal structuring and negotiating. And I bought that property at the top of the market. It's 3x in value over the years. So it's been a great asset, just a pure cash flowing asset, like the best first deal you could ever do. And it was a house hack, which is why house hack can be really good. Outside of that, 15K, I mean, it is enough to get into a burst strategy deal, but barely enough. You would definitely need a 100% lender. You would definitely need to execute perfectly. I would look maybe into some creative financing stuff. I would probably take, if you have 15K, one, I would invest in my education, my knowledge. I would go get educated first because 15K is enough to start to win or to get blown out of the water, have somebody run off with all your money and be done. So I would first invest in my education, start to learn strategies, probably creative financing, how to invest with limited cash and no credit. So how to go and find motivated sellers, people in pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, people who are going to lose their properties to the tax sale, people who just inherited their properties. So I would start talking to probate attorneys and bankruptcy attorneys. People who are filing bankruptcy, they're going to lose the house anyway. They'll deed it over to you. And then probate people who are somebody passed, left the siblings a property, they're fighting over it, they don't know what to do with it, they're ready to just get rid of it. And you can get referrals from those attorneys because they're looking for competent people with solutions. You could take a marketing budget, maybe $1,500. There's a strategy I'm going to reveal. We'll talk about it a little bit now, but I'm probably going to need like a full session to do it. But you could take a marketing budget, maybe $1,500. A lot of people don't do the marketing because they're afraid of talking to people on the phone, or they're afraid of cold calling or cold outreach. So this is kind of a warm strategy where you can build a list of people in a target area. So let's say you wanted to invest in Philly. So you could grab a couple of zip codes, build a list of maybe 1,500 properties, and then you can direct mail these owners. And you can set up screens. I want them to be out of town. I want it to be multifamily zoned. I want XYZ. So make that a really strong list. And then you blast mail them with a offer. So the wrinkle in the strategy is that you don't just send out a letter, hey, I'm interested in your property, blah, blah. You actually send them like a letter of intent and an offer, a strong offer that says, hey, I want to buy your property for this value. And there's data, which is why we're not going to get into it now, because I'd have to walk you guys through all the data and how to make that offer appropriately. But you make that offer, it's an accurate offer, it goes out, and you'll get a response rate from that. So now people are going to be calling you saying, hey, I'm interested in your offer. I want to move kind of forward with this. What are the next steps? And then you start building that conversation with them, working on getting those deals under contract. Some of those deals you can flip. The average deal that you get with that strategy, you can actually mark up 10 grand, flip it to another investor. So off of a $1,500 investment, with the right strategy, the right sweat equity you put into this, you can pop that into 10,000. And I would do a couple of those to try to build up my systems, my skill set, get some more capital in the war chest. And then I would start going straight in on burst strategy deals. Because once you get to like 30K, you can now start doing a burst strategy and just executing, building more cash flow faster. So I would start with figuring out my marketing game, coming up with a marketing plan, and then executing on that. And I would probably do direct mail and bandit signs to bring in more inbound traffic. With the right bandit sign strategy, you can get about 10 leads a month. And then with the right direct mail, you probably get another 5 to 10 a month. That's 15 to 20 people a month that you're talking to that are motivated to sell. You're going to put some deals under contract. A lot of people just don't think of it. Somebody said this should be in the 100 keys. It is going into the 100 keys. As I tell you guys, the 100 Keys, the 100 Keys Masterclass is a living, breathing thing. It's a living, breathing course. So as I pick up on different strategies, we'll test them out. And if I like that strategy, we'll just add that into the course content and we'll start teaching it to you guys so that you guys can go out and get good results. Because I'm not some guy who just will sit there. I didn't get to 300 deals by doing the same thing and never experimenting or evolving. I got here by evolving to different levels, which is testing different strategies. You climb a little higher, you see a little further. So this is a good strategy for a lot of you who are afraid to cold call, who don't want to drive for dollars, who don't want to have some big team of back office assistants, who just want to have a consistent marketing strategy that you can go to. I'll teach you guys the strategy. And I think that it's one of the best strategies right now because it's unique. Not a lot of people are doing it. Almost nobody's doing it because they don't have the skill set to really put out the valid offers and have the follow-up and all the different things you need in place. But with that system, anybody could take $1,500 and start getting off-market deals. Everybody's that's another question that kind of holds people back. I heard off-market deals are better. How do I get off-market deals? This is how. You got to market. You got to have a marketing budget. Develop a marketing budget and start going off-market for your deals. It's just, we're going to do a session on what I call webcasting in real estate, but it's just casting a series of nets. So you have to think about the deals are traveling from person to person. Somebody dies, goes to probate, they want to get rid of it, they sell it, and the property moves. Foreclosure, the property moves. Back taxes, the property moves. So the properties are just swimming through society. If you start casting nets, like marketing plan, social media campaign, bandit signs, these are nets that you're casting that is going to catch properties that are in movement. And that's how you get off-market deals. There's nothing different between that and a realtor. You think the realtors just wake up and the deals just fall in their lap? These realtors are out marketing. They're out soliciting. They're out talking to people. They're networking. And that's where the deals come from. You guys can do the same things. You just need to know what they do. You don't need to be good at it because they're not good at it. And that's the secret. They suck at it, but they're just doing the activity. If you just do the activity, you'll get the result as well. Let's get some more questions flowing. We're covering a lot today. What hidden details were in your first renovation property? Jeez. My first renovation property, it was kind of boneheaded stuff like, all right, the floors look good. Let's sand them down. Let's sand the floors down and then lacquer them and we'll save money, right? So you don't know the game. So you hire your contractors, you're paying them by the day labor. And you're like, all right, get this done. They're like, cool. So they sand the floors down. But while they sanding the floors down, dust is getting everywhere. So now it's ruining the walls. Now you got to paint the walls again. Then by the time they spent so much time redoing the floors, sanding them, repainting, all the cost of materials, the time and labor, you would have saved money just putting down a new LVP floor because it would have went down faster and made less of a mess. So there's like a lot of little things in your execution that end up costing you more money. So you bleed out, you bleed out $3,500 on that deal. Now imagine you did 300 deals, you bled out $3,500 per deal over times 300. That's $1 million. It's $1 million in mistakes. So it's very easy to lose money on these deals if you don't know what you're doing. That's why, for a mentorship program, which is a fraction of $1 million, it's like you can get $1 million worth of gain from mentorship and not make those mistakes. Some people think that they're going to be the unicorn to not make mistakes on their first couple of deals. And they're like, I don't need the mentorship. I'll just figure it out. Okay. Go blow 50 grand figuring it out, 100 grand figuring it out. You could have paid a fraction of that to have it figured out for you and just got the right blueprint and not have to make those mistakes. Because in mentorship, you could pick up the phone and say, Brian, should I save these floors? And I say, no, because by the time you do this, 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 and this, you're going to spend $5 grand on it. You should have just spent $3 grand or 2,500. Just get the LVP, go to Floor and Decor. They got a special. You get it for $1.99 per square foot. It's going to go down in 2 days. No problem. Easy peasy. And it's going to sell faster because nobody wants those old ass floors that you freaking sanded down and lacquered. But That's the difference. So some people, their blocker that's holding them back is they're not ready to accelerate. They still are afraid. They're afraid to invest at all. It's not even in real estate. They're afraid to invest. So back to that 7,500 to 15,000. Let's talk about not what I would do, but what most people do with that. What most people do with 7,500 to 15,000 is they say, I have this money. It took me so long to get it. I want to put it all into real estate. I don't want to invest any of it into my education, but because that's a waste of money. I don't have enough. So I'm going to invest it all into real estate, and then they lose it all because they don't know what they're doing and they're thinking wrong. That's not how you should think. How you should think is, I'm just getting started. I better invest in me first, in my education, so that I don't make mistakes that end up with me losing everything, because that's what's going to happen at some point. We got a question on the Instagram. It says, share more about the boots on the ground program that you have. So the boots on the ground program, I mean, you guys will have to ask specific questions, but we do everything. It's just completely turnkey. We find the properties for you. We'll onboard you into the program. We have inspectors that are boots on the ground looking at houses all day, deal analysts behind the scenes analyzing the deals off of the inspection videos that come in. Once we get those videos and we get that analysis together, we'll put together full detailed analysis that'll show you the comps, the cash flow, the rehab budgets, all the cost of lending and all of those costs that it's going to take you to get into the deal. So you get all of that information, and it puts you in a position to put out an offer. The goal is to get out an offer quickly to box out the competition. So once you get the deal under contract, we connect you with the lenders. There are lenders that'll give you 100% leverage, 100% of the money to purchase, and then 100% of the renovation. You would just pay the friction, the closing costs, the transfer taxes that you would pay on any deal. So maybe that's like 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 of friction at the end of the day, depending on the size of the deal. If it's a bigger deal, it could be, more capital. We build through the properties for you. Once we do that, just got a question about online auctions. That's a good question. We build through the properties for you. At the end of that process, we'll find the tenants. So we'll list them, tenant placement. We have the leasing agents, kind of all of that stuff in-house. Property management for you at 5%, not 10%, which is industry standard, so that you guys save some money on the property management. You get more cash flow. We're only doing it in Philly. Somebody asked me, they're like, why just Philly? Why isn't this everywhere? It's like, because I'd like to sleep at night. And, it's not that I can't scale it in multiple cities, but geez, like, it's there's multiple things. One, now once you scale this to multiple cities, you're doing a lot, in my opinion. And there's a lot that can go wrong because different cities operate differently. So the L&I here is different than the L&I there. The rules and regulations can be different. And you don't necessarily want to be all in the weeds like that, right? 2, quality control. So I have my A team. I have my A team in Philly, and I would rather, if I'm building houses for other people, or facilitating that, connecting those dots for you guys, because I'm not physically building them, right? I would rather my A team be tapped into that, so that I know that there's going to be a quality control aspect of this, because I've built hundreds of properties with these guys, versus have it be something else. Like we're out in the middle of Chicago using some crew that I've done 4 deals with, and one of the guys is an alcoholic, and we don't really know it yet, because it takes time to feel your way through a crew. The crew that you start with is typically not the crew that you end with, because there's a scaling process that happens over the course of time. So this crew that I'm working with, it took me millions of dollars of mistakes, losses, time, drama, trials, and tribulations to get to this crew. And now the people in the Boots on the Ground program get the benefit from all of that. So even for, like, the Boots on the Ground program is not the cheapest aspect of our mentorship process. It's the most expensive, but it's still, I know guys who charge, I would say 5x what the cost of the Boots on the Ground program is. They charge 5x. Some of the Boots on the Ground people watching this, you guys don't know that, but I know what's out there. They charge 5x. They give you 5x less value, but they charge you 5x the cost. And there's not many people who will just do this for you. So for the cost that it cost me to even build this, and the value that you get in the Boots on the Ground program, it's really just a damn giveaway. But not everybody can see that, because they haven't built their own operation. So they don't understand the cost of building your own operation, and the fact that nobody cares. You can always complain to me about anything. Oh, this is expensive. I wanted this to go faster. Like, you can complain to me. But when you're in charge, when you're building your own operation and you hire the contractors and you find the deals and you do everything, and the contractors aren't moving fast enough, there's nobody to complain to. Like, you just have to pay the cost. Pay the cost to be the boss. You just have to suffer and figure it out and struggle through it. And you can bleed out hundreds of thousands of dollars like very fast. It's not a game. Real estate is not a joke. It's not something that you want to trifle. It's not to be trifled with. It's something you have to respect, which is why you have to educate yourself first. If you don't educate yourself and you just think you're going to run in this game, you're going to get beat over your head. You're going to get knocked out. You're going to get completely knocked out of the game. I'm pretty crafty, and I've almost been knocked out a few times. But I've gotten stronger. We already answered that question. I saw that IG post on settling that you put up. Definitely. Before you invest in Philly, what kind of properties interest you? Do you look for them on or off market? So I look for my properties on market primarily. I do look for them off market as well. I kind of look for them everywhere. That goes into another question. Tracy asked, how do you feel about online auctions? Online auctions can be great. I do look for my properties at the online auctions as well, but you need specialized knowledge. There's this thing where people think like, I'll buy it from the auction because you can get them cheaper there. And that's like a hack. The most sophisticated players are at the auction. The most sophisticated players are at the auction. So when you go to buying from the auction, you need more knowledge. You need to know how to evaluate properties on the fly. You need to know your cost of construction like as an afterthought almost, so that you can evaluate and make decisions, because the live auction environment, it really gets you going. You get an auction and somebody sits your ass down. Like, you're like 50 and they're like 65, sit your ass down, and they stare you down. You're like, damn, I just got sunned out here. It's a serious game, and you might not have the confidence on the fly to say, no, my numbers are right. 66, you sit down, you sit your ass down. Like, you might not have that confidence. So it takes time to build your way up to be able to operate on any of these auctions. The online auction is just an online version of the in-person. So you still have the same issues that you're dealing with, and the numbers are coming at you fast. I've seen people make mistakes there and not know their costs. Every online auction is different. They're not all created equally. So it depends on where you're doing the online auction, what municipality you're in. So it all depends. Online auction can be good. Share sales, off-market wholesale deals. You can put up your own bandit signs, do your own direct mail, have your own strategy. You can have, Facebook ads, Instagram ads. There's so many ways. But one thing I can guarantee you is if you start marketing for off-market deals, you will get them, because the people that you're marketing to don't care about you. They don't know the difference between you or me. Some guy in pre-foreclosure, he doesn't know the difference between me, Brian's done hundreds of deals, or you. If you have a website, you present yourself correctly, and you can talk the talk. They don't really know the difference. So as long as you're out marketing yourself and getting yourself in front of people and doing the same things that other people are doing, but doing it with a bit more craft in a better way, and being more direct or having better solutions than people who don't educate themselves, which is a lot of people, then you're going to get the deals and you're going to make money. So you keep it simple. Look everywhere, and you'll get to where you want to go. Yeah, I've sat some people down at the auction, by the way. I've never been sat down like at the level I'm talking about, but I have gone in and tried to like big dog people. Somebody asked, what's the average home price your clients usually get there in your state? Well, we're doing a lot in Philadelphia. I mean, the Philadelphia market it can be pretty cheap. Like, I just sent out a deal to our boots on the ground people today. This was a fun one to send out. It's in a C-class neighborhood, but they're only asking like 35, 40,000 for it. It needs about 70,000 to work. So that can be a good deal. I say on average for the birth strategy deals, somewhere between 70 to 100,000, depending on the location. You can get flip deals. You can do full gut renos on, multifamily deals. Those are going for like 150, 150, 100, maybe 200,000 for a multi, like a bigger multi. So there's a good mixture of properties, but Philly's a cheap pocket. I also invest in Baltimore. It's even cheaper. You can go out, buy properties that are, I won't call them move-in ready, but lipstick deals where you go in, paint them, put down new flooring. You can buy them for 55,000, put in 25, 30,000, and then hang on to them. Cash flow 600, 700 a month, and just hang on to them forever. Baltimore could be really good for that. Cleveland, cheap like that too. So if you want cash flow, just go to where the cash flow is. Invest out of town. A lot of people will come to me, hey, Brian, I'm in California. What should I do? Go out of town. Hey, I'm from, you know, I'm from Florida. The hurricane insurance is going crazy. What should I invest out of town? Take your money where it goes further. Learn out of town management systems, and you'll make more money, and you'll set this thing up passively the way it's supposed to be. So I'm working with people in all 50 states. We don't have anybody in Alaska yet, but I'm sure that that's just, maybe that ends this year. But we have people in essentially all 50 states who are, tapped in. So we're working with people all across the country. There's some great markets. There's good markets in places like Arkansas, Little Rock. There's good markets almost everywhere. But a lot of people just don't know how to analyze deals. They don't know how to run their numbers. They've never dealt with a lender before. They have different questions that are holding them back, which is why sessions like this are so important, where people can come in, ask their questions, and accelerate themselves, and get over these small questions that are kind of holding back. Dane, would your contractor swing over to North Jersey if the deal was large enough, or only South Jersey? It depends. It depends. And I do have contractors in, New York, in North Jersey. So I have people kind of everywhere. I have tentacles everywhere. I have contractors in Cleveland. I got contractors in, the DMV. I have them all over that I can get you guys tapped into. But just for where I like to build properties personally for people, I like to use a certain crew. I like to use my 18. Other areas, I might refer you a crew. Say, hey, use them, but at own risk. Like you're going to have to manage them. And I can lean in here and there, but you're going to be the big dog on this one. And that's a different, ball game to sign up for. You have to really be ready for that. That's a lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure. Not that any of you can't do it, especially with the right guidance, but you're still going to be on the hook for it. But if I'm doing it, I want to have the 18 because I don't want to be up at night, worried about the drunk guy who showed up or hasn't shown up to work in a while, and how it's slowing the project down. So yeah, it depends. Is it best to use one's own money to purchase and repair rather than a lender's? Good question. I would say no, only because you can't scale. And I was one that was always of the mindset of, once you get bigger, just cut down your leverage, cut down the lending, and start using your own cash. But it's actually better to keep your cash in a bank and use other people's money. Not only because of the leverage aspect of it, but because when you get good at execution, which you will get good at it, if you do anything over and over again, you'll get good at it typically, unless you just have a natural gift for being bad at doing that thing, right? You're going to get better. When you do it with the lender's money, as they see you succeed, they're going to increase your limits over the course of time. So now your scalability improved. If you just did that same series of deals or deal with your own cash, it's like doing the deal in a vacuum. It's like if a tree falls in the middle of the wood, does it make a sound? I don't know. you're not. I mean, it does, but you're not there, right? To see it. Nobody saw it. Nobody cares. It's like dunking on somebody in a freaking LA Fitness. Nobody's there. It doesn't matter. You didn't do it on ESPN. Everybody saw it. Everybody's talking about it. When you do that deal with a lender, now they're talking about it. They're a national lender. They talk to other lenders. You have a track record. That track record allows them to come and say, well, you did well with $250,000. Now we extend a $1 million credit line to you. If you want to do 3 or 4 deals at once, you can. If you want to do a bigger deal, you can. Now you have more leverage and you can do better, bigger deals. So you should get credit for the good work that you're doing. So even if you're not using all 100% leverage or all of your own cash. Maybe do a mix of the two. Maybe use like 50% leverage, 50% of your own capital, but have it get qualified with a lender so that when you're ready to scale, you can scale. It's an important aspect. What's typical for a bank to lend on a deal like that where it's from an auction and you only need to put 70K in? I mean, it depends. It depends. I mean, they're going to lend up to 65% of the after repair value. So if the after repair value is high enough and the purchase price and the renovation fits within that 65%, they're going to fund the whole thing pretty much. Most lenders will. So they can give you a lot of money. Now with the auctions, some of those properties aren't insurable. The title is not insurable because it was an auction property, and there will be something called a redemption period, which is a period of time where you have to wait before the person who lost the property can't come back and redeem it. So there might be title issues. If you can't get title, insurable title, you can't get lending, which means you can't get leverage. So there can be issues with the auctions that you need to be aware of, which is why you need to research your auction. Also a reason you need to maybe tap into mentorship and kind of learn this game, because that could be a costly mistake. You win this property at the auction, you think it's great, and then you find out no lender will touch the deal because you didn't read the fine print. You just didn't read it. So that's another thing to think about. Boots on the ground in Baltimore coming soon. Maybe. I think it will expand to Baltimore. It's just a question of when. It's really just a question of when. I will do it at some point, maybe sometime soon, but probably not this year. Question on the Instagram: how much money on average do we need to get into boots on the ground deal with you? If you don't mind, we have over 700 credit score, only have one rental place so far in Utah, but no cash. Yeah, you ain't cash flowing in Utah. I have a couple of people some of the original people who joined the Boots on the Ground program when I first started it in year one. There was a group from Utah who tapped in for the same reason. Like, they're like, everything's $1 million over here. There's no cash flow. It's like negative cash flow over here. And they tapped in and they're like, man, Philly's a gold mine. You don't need that much to tap into the Boots on the Ground. There are people in the Boots on the Ground program who have, slightly over 30,000 cash and then some credit cards and credit lines and things like that. I would say just to be doing burst strategy deals or flip deals in general, 50K is kind of your like magic number where you're comfortable, in my opinion. Some people will be like, look, I got a buck 50 and I'm looking to get something done. That's like way more than you need. Like a buck 50 is like, you're going to be extremely comfortable because you're probably only going to unload 25K on this deal. So depending, like if you're coming in with less, let's say you're starting with like 30K and then some credit cards and some liquidity, you could just target a smaller deal. So if you go out and target a deal that you can buy and renovate, and that total purchase and renovation is like 130,000 or less, and you can find deals like that in Philly, you're only going to need like 18K to come to the table with to get in the deal and get through it essentially. Especially if it's a cosmetic deal, like the typical turnaround time for a cosmetic deal is like 10 to 12 weeks usually. So you can get in and out of that 3 months interest, carrying costs, and we'll factor all of that into the deal. So you can get in pretty cheap. But I say 50K is that comfort zone number where you can do more different types of deals. And then the larger you get over 50, the more comfortable you are. I don't really recommend unless you've done some deep soul searching and you're really comfortable with it, doing multiple deals at once. Certainly if somebody has like a buck 50 and they're like, hey, I want to do 2 deals. Okay. If you have 50, do 1 deal. And you'll probably thank me for holding you at 1. Or even if you felt like you could have done 2, you'll still thank me and say, well, I feel like I could have done 2, but it didn't hurt me to do 1, and kind of get a feel for it. But that's what I would say in terms of numbers. And in terms of numbers in general, because I'll get a spin-off of this question, which is how much money do I need to get started in real estate? You're starting with less than $10,000. Focus on creative financing and wholesaling. Make sure you have at least a little marketing budget, maybe $1,000, $1,500 that you can carve aside to kick off your marketing budget. You can get bandit signs up for $200. You can do direct mail campaign for $500. You don't have to like blow your bank. You can actually get out and get in front of motivated sellers very affordably. You can get a wholesale contract cheap. You can launch an operation, a wholesale operation for like $1,500 with mentorship as well. Like tap into a program, take the rest, market it, learn, get your contracts, get some type of access and get started. If you're starting with over 10,000, you can start to entertain other strategies. You can still focus on creative financing. You can start to consider getting into like a smaller bird deal or a smaller cosmetic deal or a house hack or something like that. Once you get over 30,000, you can start to focus on bird deals in the right cities. Once you get over 50,000, you can start to consider flips and bird deals. And then as you continue to get higher than that, you can climb a little higher, see a little bit further. So that will kind of put you in different stratospheres. So hopefully that answers all those questions. Do you ever consider investing in the Caribbean or Africa? They have some very affordable growing areas. Yes and no. Yes, I mean, I'm always interested in researching, learning, kind of staying focused on some of those pockets in different areas across the world because, we're in a global economy. No, in the sense that I'm more of a low-hanging fruit investor. So if there are deals right in my backyard or in a market that I already have contractors, architects, engineers, permit expediters, plan examiner, like I already know the ropes, I've already done hundreds of deals, I'm just going to keep doing deals there until it runs out of deals. That's when I'm going to know to pack up my bags and leave. And then I'll go to the next city where I'm doing deals until that dries out. Then I'll go to the next city. So I'm always going to do low-hanging fruit where I have more control, more systems, better teams before I go further away from home. It's not that I'll never go very far away from home like that, but that's a complete different play. There's two plays in real estate. There's two types of people who invest in real estate. There are people who are looking to build wealth and then people who are looking to park capital. So wealthy people park capital in real estate as a form of diversification. People who are like us, who come from nothing and who are trying to build up wealth and create generational wealth, we come in looking for value add opportunities. We're looking to value add properties, to put in sweat equity into ride appreciation waves and build cash flow streams, because that's how we build wealth. We're not diversifying pre-existing wealth. So if you're trying to diversify your wealth, you might look into some of these opportunities, Caribbean, Africa, some of these things that are going to be more focused on like ground up construction deals on fringe, like frontier markets. That's more of a diversification play to me and an experimental play. Not that it can't work or pay dividends, but if you're just looking to constantly build wealth and continue to grow in that way, I would do some of the low-hanging fruit in some of the highest cash flow cities in the United States. Because it's proven. There's almost nothing safer to do than buy a rental property, slap a Section 8 tenant in it. It's like I don't want to say it's the easiest thing in the world, but it's almost the easiest thing in the world. It's very easy. It's very simplistic. What are some creative types of comps? Ask that question in a different way. Ask that question in a different way. What are your thoughts on building ground up in Philly versus full gut? Are there better profits on building new in Philly? Not necessarily. I mean, full gut is, to me, full gut is more controlled. Like the cost of it, you kind of know what it's going to be. You know what you're getting yourself into. There's a lot of inventory that needs full gut. It makes sense in a lot of different markets. It's a much lower price point, a much faster turnaround time. More lenders are comfortable with it. Ground up, you can make money, you can lose money because you're exposed for a very long time in a ground up deal. In a full gut job, you're going to be exposed for usually less than a year, usually less than 6 months. In a ground up deal, you're usually exposed for over a year. Could be up to 2 years, depending on how big the deal is. So that puts you in a tougher position, in my opinion. It just puts you in a much tougher position. So we got a couple more questions. Maybe these came through the chat. You only work in Philly. I'm in Cali, so not the easiest to invest. I don't only work in Philly. I work with people in markets all across the country. But if I'm building a house for you, yeah, it's going to be in Philly. It's going to be in my, my main market, because it's easier for me to do it there. So if you are in Cali, and you're looking for somebody to kind of help you to do out of state investing, you're in the right place. I can help you with that. We can get you tapped in. And Philly is number 7 on the top 10 cash flow cities in the country, right beneath Baltimore. Both of those are beneath Cleveland, but they're all great at the end of the day. They're all great. So definitely, if you're looking to invest out of town where your money goes further, I recommend looking to the Northeast, because that's where the taxes, property taxes are lower, prices are lower, rents are high. So there's good cash flow, really good metrics there. What are those higher cash flow cities? In the last, I don't know if it's the last live call we did, or the one before that. You'll have to tap into my YouTube channel. If you click on my Instagram stories, there will be a link. If you click there, it'll take you to my YouTube channel. And if you watch the lives, if you click on my lives, there's maybe like 100 of these. If you watch one of my lives, we talk about the highest cash flow cities. I think it was 2 weeks ago. There's a list. Tap into that. That's gonna get you there. Juber got the deal. He said, "I like that deal. I'm putting out an offer tomorrow morning." Yeah, definitely that deal. It looked nice. I really liked it. Cash flow about 700 a month, 600, 700 a month. Buy it for 35. Put in 70K. Spit shine and make it look really nice. Property that had a little fire in the kitchen, nothing to write home about. Those types of deals, you can hang on to them and cash flow for a long time. But yeah, that's what I would say. If you're in Cali, definitely reach out and you can tap in. We get a lot of people from that market who are looking to invest out of town for the right reason. The properties are way too expensive in California, and they're negative cash flow. There's no cash flow out there. Cash flow desert. You can do creative financing. You can do lease purchase options. You can wrap around mortgages. There are strategies that you can do out there, but it's not really a cash flow area, in my opinion. You had to get really crafty. High cash flow cities, upstate New York has a lot of them. Philly, South Jersey has some of them. Places like Wilmington, Delaware, Baltimore, Arkansas has some cash flow. Memphis has some cash flow. Where else has good cash flow? Parts of Texas can have cash flow. There's a lot of areas that have cash flow, more than you think, and spread out across the country. So it's not like there's just one place, but the top 10, you might see on a top 10 list, over 5 of the locations are in the Northeast. So that's telling you, generally, the Northeast has most of the cash flow. It has most of the cash flow. These are the best cities, which is why I love being from the Northeast. I love being from that pocket. So you can make a lot of money in the Northeast. If you're not from there, tap in with somebody who is, or who has the resources, and get your piece of the pie, because it don't matter. America is becoming a renter's nation. You're either going to own some land 20, 30 years from now, or you ain't. And that you ain't is going to last generations. It's just going to last, especially with the hedge funds in the game, and then with where AI and technology is going to head in terms of house building. There's going to be the haves and have-nots. You want to be one of the haves, and you want your family to have. You just don't want to get screwed over out here. First gen purchaser here looking to either do investment or single family home. I don't know where to start. Investment makes the most sense, like multifamily housing, but I need help to fund and get it all going. No rush for my own single family, maybe later down the road. That's the right philosophy. I actually had 100 houses before I ever bought my first house to live in. I had over 100 houses before I ever bought my first property to, like, hey, me, my wife, like, we're going to live here. We're going to start our family here. And so I'm of that philosophy of being a property owner or a landowner is being a property owner or a landowner. It doesn't mean owning your own house that you live in. In fact, I would definitely recommend putting that off for substantially longer until you get your other assets up to the level where you're like, I guess I'll buy a house. I was renting. I was like, it almost felt hypocritical, but to a degree, it's like renting was a peace of mind to me, because it's like, well, I'm dealing with real estate so much, I don't want to deal with it in my house. I'd rather rent, because now I'm in my own crib. It's like, there's a roof leak, that's on me. The sink breaks, that's on me, right? I'm handyman of the house, so I got to fix it. I'm Mr. Fix It now. But when you have your own apartment you're renting and you're investing in real estate, you kind of don't care, because you're like, look, I'm picking up houses anyway. I don't need to live in them to own them to get the benefits of home ownership, the tax deductions, the losses, the write-offs, all of that stuff. So I'd recommend just getting in the game however you can. If it's an FHA house hack, cool. If it's going out of town, investing out of town where your money goes further, picking up a bunch of cash flowing assets before prices rise, that makes a lot of sense to me too. What doesn't make sense is sitting on the sideline talking about, oh, I'm just not feeling confident enough when I'm waiting to feel, really good about this. That's nonsense. Stop waiting. Wake up, get in the game. That doesn't feel right to me. Waiting. Waiting for you to feel good. You ain't going to feel good about this game. It's not a game to feel good about when you're getting started because you don't even know enough to know what to feel good about. This is a game you'll feel scared. Really, all the way through your first deal, you will feel scared. You'll feel anxious. You're going to have way too much emotions involved in the process. You're going to be dealing with all of these different things until you scale up and get a deal done, then get two done. It's just going to happen until you get educated. You're going to feel that. So I recommend getting educated, talking to the right people, getting in mentorship, taking action. Taking action in any format in real estate is a win. Sitting on the sidelines is a loss. The only time to sit is if you're stacking up cash. I'm stacking up cash. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to unload. But while you're waiting, learn. Start to study. Start to implement the knowledge. Start to tap in. Stay locked in. That's going to put you ahead of the pack. Renting and getting investment properties until you have enough rental cash flow to get your own home, you're saying? Yeah or no. I mean, just unplug from it. Unplug from the matrix. If your goal is to build cash flow and financial freedom, the easiest way to do that is to go to get a bunch of properties and then put a bunch of people on those properties and let them go to work the 9 to 5 every day and make money and then pay you. That's the easiest way for you to get out of the rat race. Anybody watching this, go buy a bunch of properties, have a bunch of people who are tapped into that mindset, because some people never untap from it. That's just the reality. The majority of people will never untap from that matrix mindset. Let them, if they're going to go to work every day for the rest of their life and they want to do that lifestyle, let them get up, go to work, and then make their money and then pay you every month. And you collect that money. And if you keep doing that process, you're going to have enough money coming in to be financially free, even if you are still renting a property. At some point, you'll take your earnings and you'll just buy a house that you want to live in. You'll just buy something because the timing is right. You'll do an FHA or something. It's not really going to be on your mind because you're already going to own multiple properties anyway. Everybody you talk to, if you went out and just bought 4 houses, a lot of people had these big goals. I want 10 houses. I want 20 houses. They're like, Brian did 300. I want to get at least 100. If you went out and bought 3 houses and went in a barbershop and said, I got 3 cribs, people would be blown away. They're like, whoa, you got 3 houses. That's crazy. You don't need a lot to really start to separate yourself in this game and start to build your way out of the 9 to 5. You just need to get started, get a handful of deals. You'll be way ahead of the competition. And that is your competition, is the person. If you're working in a cubicle, the person to the left and right of you, you just got to do better than them. So if you go out and just get 3 cribs, you're making what they're making sitting next to you, plus more passive income. Your mindset's different. You're now not locked in like they are. You're not as afraid. You start losing fear of losing your job, of coming out of the matrix. You start to lose the fear because you have a system. So you're like, well, if this went away, I would just do more of this. Forget it. I would just get another job, not even care about the career path of the job or the trajectory, all that. I just need enough money to put into this system. So you just stay locked in on that mindset. You become unbreakable. You could actually work the job you hate for much longer if you had a plan. A lot of you hate your job because you don't have a plan. You don't really hate your job. You just don't have a plan. You hate that you don't have a plan and that the job is not giving you a guaranteed way out. It's not the job's job. It's not your boss's job to give you a path to financial freedom. It's your job to come up with that playbook. Real estate is definitely a blueprint to do it, and probably one of the most safe ways to do it. But a lot of us hate our job just because of that, because we don't have a guaranteed way out. And we're like, oh, I should just get paid more. Then I'd be more comfortable. No, you wouldn't. You just consume more. You still be broke. You're not going to get there until you start to save. But most people don't save because they don't have a plan of where to put the money anyway. So what are you saving it for? Just consume it. But once you have that real estate plan, every dollar starts going there. And then it starts growing more money and more wealth and tax write-offs. And it puts you in a different mindset, and you will accelerate. You won't care whether you live in the house or not. You could rent forever. I'd happily rent forever and own hundreds of houses. Who cares? Single family or short-term rental versus mid-term rental versus long-term rental. What's the best investment? Short-term rental versus mid-term rental versus long-term rental. What's the best investment? That's a tough question, because short-term rental, you have to take with a grain of salt because you can get regulated out. So you could be in a city making money, and then they come into the city and they're like, yo, we don't like Airbnb no more. You're out. They did it I think they did it in Phoenix. I know they did it in like Austin, Texas. I know they did it in Atlanta. They're doing it in a lot of areas. So that could happen to you. So that, to me, makes it a little bit of a negative. It makes it a little bit of a negative for me. Midterm rentals are good. You're going to have higher turnover, but you can get a fat premium. You can get extra $500 per bed. And, your midterm rental can cash flow, a couple grand a month. Pre-furnish it, rent to traveling nurses, good money. Your long-term rental is really if you want it to be super passive, very low management, set it and forget it. That's what that is for. So the long-term rental can make a lot of sense too, especially depending on how you're structuring it. I would recommend watching that training video we did. It's on the YouTube channel. It's one of the first videos you'll see if you tap into my YouTube channel, where we break down the 3 high cash flow strategies, because those are all long-term strategies, but they're super high cash flow. It's really more money than you get out of any short-term rental. Some of the better short-term rentals, maybe they cash flow $6,000 a month, but that's very active management, and that can go away, and that could be seasonal. So some parts of the season, I make $6,000 off a month, but then in the winter, that $6,000 goes down to like $300, or they're just carrying the mortgage because nobody's really here because it's not the season. So it depends. It really depends on your strategy. It depends on where you're doing it in the country. So many questions, which is why you really need that one-on-one mentorship approach, somebody to really dig into the weeds with you, show you where you're doing it, why you're doing it, how to do it, if you're going to do it. And then you can pick the strategy that fits you. That's what we love about real estate, is you can design it around you. It's not just about the real estate itself, but it's about what your plan is, what your goals are, and then you design it around you. Thanks to you, Brian. I'm not afraid of a little fire damage. Knowledge is power. Yeah, definitely. A little bit of fire damage on a property, it shouldn't scare you. It doesn't scare me. It used to. It used to be one of my biggest fears, that a house would catch on fire. Now I see a little fire damage. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Let's get it. Can you explain the process of using equity from your home to start investing to build generational wealth for beginners? You just do a home equity line of credit. So if you have equity in your house, a lot of people, I would say, in the California market are doing this. Number one strategy, California homeowners. Hey, I own this property. I bought it years ago. I got a ton of equity. They go out, they get a home equity line of credit. They get $300,000 line that's completely liquid. You can take that money, use it as the down payment in a construction loan, if there is one, if you're not using a 100% lender, and you can get yourself into a deal. You could also use that line of credit for the rehab budget. So you can renovate the property with that line. So you can do a lot of work with that home equity line. And then when you're done, refinance out of the deal, put the money back in the HELOC, keep the property. So you can actually use your HELOC. If you get a nice sized home equity line of credit, you could use that HELOC to print properties with the BRRRR strategy. Buy them, renovate them, refinance the money back, repeat the process, and just keep doing it. And you can, I know somebody doing this in New York, from New York right now, that we're helping within the Boots on the Ground program. They're doing it with their HELOC. They're getting in and out of deals, put the money back in the HELOC, keep the rental property. It's a great strategy. You can scale your way all the way to the top. You can grab 20, 30, 40 deals doing that. If you just stay locked in, stay down, keep applying yourself. So that's what I would say about that strategy. Definitely look into getting a HELOC if you're interested in getting into real estate and you have a lot of equity in your property. Just do it safe. Do a burst strategy. Do it on something small, Section 8. Do something conservative. Don't get super aggressive with your HELOC. You don't necessarily want to flip off your HELOC. You're doing too much at that point. Do some type of buy and hold deal that's a little bit more conservative is my best advice. But you got to do what you want. Sometimes people are like, I want to flip it. I feel good about it. I like this deal. That's fine. But I like doing the rental property strategy. You're better off doing a deal, getting paid over and over again for what you did, not for what you're doing. Getting paid over and over again for what you did, that's wealth building mindset. Hey, I built this house 3 years ago. It still pays me every month. What a great job I did 3 years ago. That's how you get wealthy. That's how you make money in your sleep. That's how you get to spend more time with your friends and family. By having that leverage, if you had 100 houses, how you have to look at it. Let's say you had 10 houses and you put 10 people, one person in each house, you'd have 10 people out working for you, essentially. Because they're working every month for an employer, and then they're making money and then they're paying you. So you're getting leverage of people by getting more property ownership. So now it's not just you going to work. It's you and 10 other people going to work. And you're profiting off of everybody's labor. Last question we'll do today. Explain the basics in real estate comps. We've been flowing for like an hour and a half. Hour and 40. Unless it's a really good question, you guys keep dropping them, but this is probably the last one we'll tackle. Explain the basics in real estate comps. Basics in running your comps for real estate, depending on if you're holding, if you're doing a buy and hold or a flip deal, is how aggressive you can be on your comps. If you're holding the property, you can be super aggressive because it's just you versus the bank. So you can just play the appraiser game. The appraiser can use any comp, typically within a square mile or half square mile. So you just pull your comps aggressively, whatever the higher comps are, whatever you can justify, that's similar in square footage, bed bath count, and you run that play. You're like, yo, this is worth 225. And I'll send you 5 properties that are selling at 225. Now they might be 5 blocks away in the right direction. And I'm more in like the C class pocket. Those are more in like the B minus, but they're still there technically. So, and the bank is not really looking. They're just trying to do a best guess at the end of the day. So you can do that. If you're going to flip the property, it's the market who's buying the property. So you have to be very tight on your comps within like a 4-block radius, 5-block radius, and you don't want to get out of it. And you want to make sure you're in a better pocket. And those comps are all around you in all directions so that you have more justification because an unsophisticated buyer is going to come in and buy that property. So they're not going to be trying to listen to your story about how the property 8 blocks away is worth X, Y, Z. They don't care. They don't have the knowledge to really see the vision there. So it has to be dummy proof. So depending on where you're at, you can be aggressive or less aggressive with your comps. And then outside of that, just keep it like to like. Multifamily versus multifamily, single versus single, bed to bed, bath to bath. Try to keep them very similar. We have, and you're tapping into the course content now, one of our newest VIP members. Just tap into some of the sections of the course content that focus on comps. We'll talk about it tomorrow because we're syncing up on the one-on-one Zoom call. And then what I'm going to do is pull the sections from the course that are focused on comps, especially with you asking about it tonight. And we'll get you in front of that information. It breaks it down into great detail. So you can see exactly the software that I use to pull comps, my exact process, the whole philosophy behind it, how appraisers think, how lenders think about comps, all of it. We break it all down. Got it. Do you do any assisted living or Airbnb deals? Yes, and working through multiple projects now. So these deals are good. Also, co-living is good. We're working on a lot of different things right now, and we'll keep revealing all this stuff to you guys as the course of time continues. Let me see if any more questions. I think we got all the questions out. So, guys, hope this helped. This is all going to live on the internet, so you guys can watch it again, tap into some of the questions. Maybe we'll clip some of this stuff out. If you got value, If you got value, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely share this with somebody else you want to get value. Always pass value along. It's the way to get more. Is to just spread it around. Share the content with somebody else who you want to win. Because any one of these things or topics, it could just be a nugget that they needed to accelerate and get over the hump. And when in doubt, take action. If you want to get deals, take action. Stop holding yourself back. Don't worry about the money. The money is meaningless. The knowledge is everything. The money is meaningless. Once you get that knowledge, you can replace all the losses overnight, instantly. So you have to get to the knowledge quickly. Mentorship is quick. The Boots on the Ground program is leverage. We'll build a house for you. The ride along, the real estate ride along, March 23rd. Tickets almost sold out. That's a decade's worth of game in one day. Tap into the ride along. Phil, I see you. Phil's going to tap in. I think your partner's coming, Phil. And Phil, tell everybody where you're coming out from, because people are like, does Brian really work with people over here? So definitely come out to that ride along. We have people tapping in from all over the country to the real estate ride along. We're going to show you guys some properties Saturday, March 23rd. Spend a day with me, pick my brain, ask me even more questions about real estate, how to get started, how to get your deals flowing. And it only takes one, guys. It only takes one deal to get to the next level. It does not take 20 deals, 10 deals, $100,000. It doesn't take none of that. If you want to get the deals off market, get them off market, but take action. They're not just going to happen for you. The deals aren't just going to fall in your lap. Well, sometimes they will if you stay in this game, but you can go out and get deals. You can go out and get deals. Like, comment, subscribe, follow on the IG. I'll see you guys on the next one.